Hello, Legacy Sabers, Marsh here. So today we're going to talk about functions in JavaScript. Our essential question today, how can I make my programs more readable and not have to write duplicate code? So a lot of times when we're looking at programs, we look at it and go, you know what? I just wrote the same code twice. I wonder if there's a way for me to make it so I don't write the same code multiple times. And that is what we're going to be looking at. But first we're going to look at this lovely information, these lyrics to the song Call Me Maybe. So here's one version of it, and here is another version of it. Now, as you can see, this is a little bit more readable. Reason why, do you see how it says chorus here, right here? And then that tells you you're going to go over here and sing that. So whenever we see the word chorus, we're just going to go sing the chorus. Right here, what I've done is I've just duplicated that over and over. So right here, we got the same thing twice written. Over on the other side, I just say chorus so that you guys know that you should sing the chorus. Okay. Now you're probably thinking, Marsh, yeah, I agree with you that the one that says chorus is easier to read, right? But how is this like programming, Marsh? Like, why are we talking about this? Well, just like a chorus in a song, we can do the same in code. Introducing a function. A function is just a named group of programming instructions. This is also referred to as a procedure or a method, depending on what language you're talking about, depending on who you're talking to. But most of the time in our JavaScript language, we're going to call them a function. So what this allows you to do is take code and pull it out and put it in its own group. You're going to name it. And then whenever you want that function to run or that set of instructions to run, you just call on it. So when we make a function in JavaScript, it looks like this. You're going to find it in the green section for drag and drop. It's going to say the word function, and then you're going to be able to name your function. Depends on what you want this function to do. So maybe it adds all numbers up, so then you would say add them all up. You get to name the function whatever you want to name it. Make sure, though, that when you name it, make sure it's descriptive, right? So you know kind of what's inside. And then we have some statements, as many statements as we need. Over here, I have the writing, the typing out version. I do want to point out we have a curly brace right here and a curly brace right there. Everything that's inside the function has to be between those two curly braces. And then when you make the function, you also need to call the function. So every time you want this function to run its code, you have to write a function call. Otherwise, the function doesn't know that you wanted it to happen. So a function call is just a command that executes the code within a function. And literally all it is the name of the function, parentheses, and then a semicolon. So let's say if I have a function named Bob, I would say Bob, semicolon, just like that. What would happen then is it would call the function Bob, run that code, and then come back from where it was. Okay, we're going to take a look at level 2 on the functions. There should be a link on Classroom that'll take you there. So if you want to go there quick and then catch up with me here. Okay, so here is where we're at for level 2 on code.org. So this is the song Wake Me Up by Avicii, I believe it's called. So we have a couple of verses. They have us singing the chorus right here. And right down here, if you notice, here is the function sing chorus. Let me zoom in a little bit. So wake me up when it's all over, right? That song. Ultimately, we want it whenever we need to sing the chorus, we want it so that we put the function sing chorus. So right here, so they have the first verse right here. Then they sing the chorus twice. Then we have the second verse. Now, we need to add code to sing the chorus twice again. So we're going to drag in my function. Notice there's two kinds. This one's defining a function. That means you are creating a function. This is call a function, which means there's a function that's already been created. You need to call it. So if I was dragging and dropping, I would just drag that in. I'm going to do some typing here. So I'm going to call the function, and its function name is called sing chorus. So I'm going to say sing chorus, parenthesis, parenthesis, semicolon. I'm going to do it twice because they told me to do it twice. The parentheses behind here, we do need to call with the parentheses. That is to show that there's no data that needs to be sent to the function to do its job. So that is something that if you miss those parentheses, that does cause an issue when you're typing. It looks like I have to add some more code to sing the chorus once. Now you're probably thinking, well, Marsh, the function's down there. The function will not run unless you call the function. The function's just kind of, I don't know, in the corner, kind of sleeping. And until you say, hey, chorus, that's when he knows to wake up and do his job. So you have to call the function before it does anything. So I'm going to say sing chorus, parenthesis, parenthesis, semicolon. And now if I run my program, zoom out, go a little faster. Otherwise it's going to take forever. Now, notice what happens when sing chorus gets to that point. So it says sing chorus, then I go back down to sing chorus. It sings the chorus, then it returns back to where it was. So every time you see sing chorus, it jumps down to that function, and then it goes and runs the program. Kind of neat, right? Kind of different. But what this allows you to do is take code and basically unduplicate it. It's kind of like looking at it and saying, well, what's repeating and where can I change that code? All right, I'll throw my code back over there. So we have fixed that one. Ultimately, why would you use functions? Well, functions allow you to not have to write repetitive code in multiple on events. A lot of times you're going to find that you're doing the exact same thing over and over in every on event, and if you just write it once, then you can call it. Maybe you check something after every button is clicked. Instead of writing the same code multiple times, you could write it once, call the function wherever you must check it. Or maybe you're doing a lot of updating. That's another time that you would write a lot of functions as well. So on that same code.org level, go ahead and open level 5 for me. So we're going to skip a little bit ahead here and past number 2 and number 3, or excuse me, number 3 and number 4. We're going to go to number 5 right away. So right here, here is my level 5. So we're going to run this program. We're going to see what this update screen function is. So they made an update screen function. So let's run our program. Oh, it's really slow. I'm going to run it faster. Up button. So it looks like it's a counting program, right? Does it count all the way? Oh, it counts up to 10. How exciting. There's not a button to return. That's a really bad UI. But look at this update screen function. So we're going to go find this function. There it is. So the update screen function, what it does is it sets the count display label to whatever count's value is, and it checks if count is greater than or equal to 10 or count is less than or equal to -5. We're going to change the game over screen, and we're going to set the text to the count. So every time they push the button, so if you push your up button, you update the screen after you've added 1 to your count. Same thing with -1. Now, ultimately, think about it. These two things, this if statement and this set text, that would have had to been in the up button on event and the down button on event. So what I've done is I've made it so that I don't have to write it twice. I just write it once and then I call that function wherever I need that to happen. I think they want us to modify. Change the program to make the game end when the score is 15 or greater. Change the program to make the game end when the score is -10 or less. Okay, so that looks like we just need to change the update screen function, right? So they said 15 or greater. So that means I got to change that 10 to be a 15. And then -10 or less. So I'm going to change this to be -10. Let's double check that. Make sure our program's working now. Okay, 15. Okay, that looked perfect. Let's go down to -10. Perfect. Okay, change the program to make it display the word clicks after the count as you play the game. For example, 5 clicks or 10 clicks. Oh, okay, so they want it to say like 1 click over here. Well, ultimately, I'm not having to change either the up, down, but up button or the down button, right? Still in that in this declaration of the update screen function. And right here is when we set the text of count display label count. So I'm going to change it so it's not just count. We're going to want it to say count and then the word clicks. So I'm going to go behind it, put a plus sign, and then I'm going to put the word clicks behind it. Notice I did put a space before clicks. That is because of me concatenating that variable count. I do need to take care of that. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Let's double check it. See, now I have the word clicks behind it, not just the number, which is kind of neat. Oh, okay, so it just says as we play the game. Okay, we're doing all right. All right, I'm going to throw my code back over there. Let's go see. And notice, how does that update screen function make our program easier to understand? Well, it helps it, right? It helps us say, oh, I'm going to go update that screen. You get to go read that code. Helps us a little bit. Now, update screen was declared down at the bottom, and then we called it a couple of times as well. And we updated. Awesome. So here's this pattern that they talk about, which is called the update screen pattern. They like to talk about the ability to, quote unquote, update the screen. Ultimately, they talk about this update screen pattern in the fact of a lot of times you're doing the same thing in multiple on events, and a lot of times you can take that information and update it and throw it all into one particular function. So right here, they have this update screen right here that checks to see if the count is greater than 20. And if it is, it's going to change a certain label's text color to green. And they have this down button, up button. So right here, I am calling the update screen function also there. And a lot of times you call the update screen function, or they like to call the update screen function at the top of the program as well. So that stuff happens. It's a very common thing in our programs. However, just something to keep in mind, not code that you need to have memorized exactly, but recognizing that it's a common pattern in our programming. Okay, now we're going to go back to lemon squeeze again. We're going to find some duplicated code and pull it into the function. So I'm going to move on to number 6 here. Here's my code. Okay, so we're going to go find the code that's duplicated. And what we're going to do is we're going to make ourselves an update screen function. So I'm going to look at my code here. So I'm going to look in the, probably not in the play button, but maybe there's update stuff. Maybe there's stuff in the lemon and the lime that's the same code. So I increase the score. That's probably not going to be the same, right? Because if I mouse over the lime, it's not going to. Change the lemon based on the score. Okay. Moving and then updating. Okay. So playing different noises, subtracting the lives. This is not the same, but do you see how this code that code. So line 65 through 72, that's the exact same, moving the lemon and the lime and then updating the text property. So we're going to make ourselves a function. It's very common in JavaScript to make functions all the way down at the bottom of your code. However, it's not required, but a lot of people put functions down at the bottom. So if you are a drag or dropper, you're going to find it under this functions, the green tab, and we need to call a function or make a function. We need to make the function before we can call it. So we're going to make the function, which is defining a function. So I'm going to drag that in down to the bottom here. And I'm going to call this function, come on, let me type. Thank you. I'm going to call it the update screen function. Now notice you are getting a yellow splat. That is because we haven't called it yet. And what I want to go do is I'm just going to take the code that I noticed was duplicated, this stuff, and I'm going to drag it into my function. Get in there. Oh, that wasn't good. There. So I took my code from the lime and I just ran all of that stuff. Now you're going to notice it's not going to work right now, right? Because I haven't called that function. So let's call the function. So let's drag in and call a function. And I want to call that function we just wrote, update screen, just like so. And I got to do that also up here, but I'm going to get rid of the code that I literally dragged in. So the code that I will be calling in my update screen function is this code right here, right? Change the lemon, change the lime, change the labels text. So I'm going to take this code and throw it away. And then I'm going to call the update screen function that has that exact same code in it, just like that. So now if I run my program, oh, what's Lemonheads? Lemon 1, 2, 3. There we go, play. So now if I try it, you see, no matter what I do, I still get it to work because I'm calling the update screen function no matter what. So it's actually running the program for us. Kind of different, right? But it does make your program a little bit more cleaner, and it also makes it not as complex. But at the same time, you're kind of adding a level of complexity, but easier to maintain is probably more what I would say. Okay. Now, that newly added, it helps us better organize, right? Not as much repeated code. And if I would have to go change my update screen function, maybe I add a new label or something, I'd only have to do it once, which is kind of neat and kind of useful. Our first example here. So what would it be printed the console when the input boxes have the following values? So we are getting some numbers from a couple of input boxes right here, 1, 2, and 3. So they are giving us 3 different numbers. So they're saying the first one they're giving us is a 5, then they said a 7, and then a 9. So we're going to run this program. They're making a variable called average. We're adding the 3 variables together. So 5 plus 7 plus 9. Well, that is the number 21 divided by 3. So average would be a value of 7. So I would print in my console 7. Notice right here, we are calling our average function method function down there. Let's try another one. So they said 19, 14, and 10. Okay, I'm going to erase my code here. Okay, so I got a 19, a 14, and a 10. So that's a 19, a 14, and a 10. Well, 19 plus 14 is 33. Divided or plus 10 is 43. 43 divided by 3. Marsh does not know what that is. Quick math here. Let's just grab my calculator. 43 divided by 3. 14.33333 is what we would get there. Marsh just typed it into her calculator. So I'd get 14.33 was what would display. Let's take a look at the last example. So the first thing, we have a value of 18 and name input has a value of Marsh. So that means that I have an 18 in num and Marsh in name. So hello name, I'm going to set the text so it's going to say hello Marsh, right? And then in my other label, it'll say your favorite, sorry guys, can't write today, number is 18. What if num input has a value of 2 and the value of doctor? So that would be a 2 and doctor. So what it would say is, hello, doctor, right? And your favorite number is 2, is what would display. Kind of different, right? Kind of neat. Allows you to run program multiple times with different input in all way. And that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed learning more about functions in JavaScript. We're going to keep practicing on this because this is not exactly the easiest topic to learn, especially when we learn about pulling more duplicated code out and when we start writing our own functions. But I will see you later, Sabers.